Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today's tutorial is going to be focused on a Discord server banner. Now server banners are unlocked within your server once it reaches 15 boosts within the whole boosting feature, and that would be tier 2 out of 3. Now the program I'm using is called Adobe Photoshop Creative Cloud. It is paid, not free, and there are a couple other options that I have listed on the channel that you can try out, but GIMP is also a great free alternative. Now this design here offers a lot of customization, and I know I say that a lot, but this one is unique in the sense that you can move around so many of these different assets to get a really unique and wonderful feel for whatever your community is based around. For example, the center section, I could take that and move it over here. These stickers, I can move these stickers around one there. I can move one over here. As you can see, if I just play around with it, I can get a lot of different looks. Same goes to changing the colors, changing the icons within each of the stickers. It really does offer a lot of options for how you want to design this. Now you might notice, or it's kind of hard to miss it, these little icons in the backgrounds. Now I will not be showing you how to make those in this tutorial, just because I'm personally a little undecided on whether or not they should be there or whether or not they should be removed entirely, but I already have plenty of tutorials on the channel that show you how to have those added to your designs. And as an example, this would be one of them, Discord Easy Splash Screen tutorial, and I'll have that link down below. It's a really quick process as to how to go about making them, but we have a lot of other things to cover, and I just don't see a need to go over that in this tutorial. So, without any further delay, let's just jump right into this. We're going to start off by going to File, New, and we'll be doing a 960 by 540. Click Create. As always, we're going to go down to this plus and click that. Click Delete on the background to remove that so we're on our checkerboard. Come over to your Paint Bucket tool and hold down the left mouse button to see more options if necessary. So click that. We'll be using the following color for our backgrounds, D6E6FF. Click OK and then drop that down. We'll call this our base, then do Ctrl G and call this the base area. And I'm just double clicking to get into the option to change the name. Right click on the eyeball and let's make this yellow just to keep ourselves organized. Now we can go ahead and click the space again real quick and click the lock just so we don't accidentally move it around. Now let's collapse this for the time being, create a new layer, Ctrl G, and let's name this the center, right click on the eyeball and let's make this orange. Now we're going to come over here and go to our rounded rectangle tool and drop it down just like so. Now we're going to be using properties to make all of our adjustments. However, if you do not see the properties window, go over to window, go down to properties, click that. It'll then pop up right over here, and you can either leave it there, which I don't really recommend as it might get in the way, or drag it to the side and dock it there, which I do recommend. Now within the Properties tab, we're going to go over to Width, which is W, and we'll put down 620. And as for the height, we'll be using 180. Then we're going to right click, go to Blending Options, go over to Stroke, make sure we're at 6 pixels for the stroke. The stroke is set to outside. And for the color, we'll be using 88A5F5. Click OK there, and then once again. Now as for the rectangle itself, we want to switch the color to pure white. So drag it all the way into the corner or put 5 Fs, then click OK. Now we're going to want to center this, so follow the guiding lines until it tells you it is centered. Then we're going to collapse that, we're going to call this the base, create a new layer, return to your rectangle tool, and drop one down. The first one will have it at about this size. It doesn't really matter too much because we're going to be clipping it on and adjusting it as needed. And as for the color, B7, D3, F8. Click OK, clip that on. We'll call this the lines, Control T, and we'll put one right around there. Then Control J, clip that on, and move one over here. One more time, Control J. Let's make that straight again. Let's skinny it out, make it a bit longer. Make sure that it's clipped on, Control T, and we'll put one in the center. Now this base area, I'll make a quick copy of it. Let's call that one the backup. Let's hide that. This one over here, we're gonna rasterize layer style, and we'll call this the base as it already was. And as for these lines, we'll swap it to multiply. So we can just copy layer style, paste, and paste. As you can see, it adds a nice little shade to the trim over here. And the reason we created a backup was because we just rasterized or baked this stroke into the actual rectangle itself. And there's no way to really undo it easily, hence we made a backup just in case we want to make future adjustments. Now let's just make sure all these lines are properly named. Then we can take all of this, Control G, and call this the base area. Now we can create a new layer, and this one will be where we have our text at. Now because the channel and the community is called Tsuke, I'll naturally be using that. And for the font color, we want 266 FFA. So click OK there. Drop that down, and we'll do TSU KEI. I'm going to go to the center and add a space. And the font size, we want to add about 111 pixels. So it's not too big nor too small. Actually, that's a bit too small, so I'll bump that up a tad. Let's make sure this is properly centered. Now the reason I added a space in the center was just so we could break it up a bit with a circle. So hold shift while you make the circle to make sure it is proportionate. And then we'll make sure this is centered as well. Not quite. Just my arrow keys to make some fine adjustments. And that is perfect for me. And we'll call this the dot. And that's one part of this design done, that being the center section. So we can collapse this, then create a new layer, do Control G, and this will be where we have all of our stickers. If I can name this properly, there we go. Right click on the eyeball, and let's make that green. Now we can go ahead and do Control G once again. We'll call this the red rectangle. Now we can come over here, go over to our rectangle tool, and for the center we'll be using the following color, FD606 or 606B. Click OK and make confirm that is the color it would be dropping down as. Then we'll go ahead and set that down. Now there isn't really any specifications for the sizing. It really depends on what you plan to write in there. I'm just going to write fun, but you might want to write something that's more relevant to your community. In my case, I might want to write manga or anime or Japan. In this case, I'll just stick to fun, but those are just some options that you'd have or some ideas as to what you could use that for. Next step is we're going to be creating a little stroke for it. Now we can't use a stroke in the traditional sense because as you can see the corners start to round and we do not want rounded corners for this design. So instead we're going to do Control J. This will be the top and this will be the stroke. Here we're going to want to add around 16 pixels to each side. So 16 and 16 is 32. So for each of these, we would add 32. In this case, 196 would become 228. And then for the other one, 69 would become 101. And then we can make sure this is using the lighter color. And we'll go ahead and center all of that. Perfect. As you can see, it is all centered and all the sides are at 16. Now comes the fun part. We're going to create a new layer, Control G, and we'll call this the cutouts. Now we're going to come over to our ellipse tool. We're going to swap this to pure black, which is straight zeros. And we're going to create a circle. This one we want at 15 by 15. And the way we're going to arrange this is so that is perfectly centered there. And this top part lines up with the top part right there. So we have one at the top, one at the bottom. Make sure it lines up and it's all centered. And then we'll put one right in the middle. So there's 12 faces on each side in the gap. Now let's do Control G, Control J. Now this is going to look as if it's getting really messy, but never fear, we're going to merge all of this and then cut it out. Now that is also perfectly aligned. Now we'll take one of these, do Control J, move it above, and let's move this over here. Same thing, make sure it is centered, and this lines up with that. Control J, let's move it over here, same thing, it's going to line up. This part could take a bit longer as you're trying to figure out the proper spacing to get this to line up fairly well. Now we can take all of these, do Control G, and do Control J. Let's drag all of that down. And we already know the sides are going to line up because it's a copy of the top. So we should make sure it is lined up right there. Now we can take all of these, right click, merge layers. We'll go to the stroke, right click, rasterize layer, then hold Control. As you can see, the cursor has changed completely. It now has the little mouse button as well as a little rectangle in the corner when I'm hovering over this thumbnail. So when I click on that thumbnail now, you can see that all of these little circles are highlighted, but I'm still on the stroke layer. So what I can now do is click delete on my keyboard, go to my rectangular marquee tool, right click, deselect, hide this cutout, and now this is all cut out around the sides. So now it looks like, I guess, a raffle ticket really, but it can also be a sticker, and that's really what we're intending to do here. So this will be our first sticker. I'll go ahead and add my text. So I'm going to merge all of this, call this the base, then I'll create a new layer, go to my type tool. We'll be using white, and let's just say fun. Let's drop the size and then move that to the center. Now we'll take all of this, not all of that, just the red, do Control T, scale that down a tad. Let's put one right around there. Next step is going to be fairly simple. We're going to be using the same color that we used here. We're going to create a, oh, we already did that. So do Control G. We'll call this the blue square. Go over to our rectangle tool. Let's drop that down. Now it's going to be the same exact case here as with this other one. We want 16 pixels on all sides. So this 104 is going to become a 136. And as well as this one, going to become a 136. This is going to become white. Let's drag that below. And let's make sure this is all centered. Perfect. Now we're going to create a new layer. Control G, we'll call this the cutouts. Same exact steps as before, nothing new or surprising here. Ellipse tool, make this black. Then we're going to create one at 15 pixels. Adjust it if you need to. We're going to make sure the top lines up and it lines up down the center. Put one down here, make sure it lines up. Same thing, Control G, and then Control J, move that over. Make sure it is centered. Control J, Control T, hold Shift while you rotate it for perfect 15-degree turns. Now we will move this up, and that lines up on that side. Cutouts, merge group, go to the stroke, let's rasterize the layer, Control click, then delete, marquee tool, right click, deselect, hide the cutout, and now our edges are nice and cut. Now we can take all of this, Control G, and call this the base. I'm going to reopen that though, because we're going to be adding in some text here. First text we're going to have is going to be just anime. And then I will scale that down so that it fits. And I want to add a character in here, so I'll go ahead and drag them in. Make sure they are also clipped, but I want them to be over the text. Let's do Control T, drag them down, and then I will put them right about there. Now I can take this entire thing, move it over here, Control T, and give it a little bit of a twirl. Actually, I'll take all these stickers and move them just a tad to the left. Okay, now we can start adding more shapes around. So I'll take this blue square, do Control J, call this the pink square. Let's open this up. Let's go to our base, delete the character, delete the text, blending options, color overlay, and let's give it the following color. FFA66, click OK. Let's collapse that. Let's take this pink square, let's rotate it in that direction, maybe a bit more, scale it down a bit, and put it right around there. Then do Control J, we'll call this the tiny square. We'll move it down here, let's make it straight, put it right around there. We'll go over to our base, blending options, color overlay, and we'll give it, say, that color there. Let's rasterize that, rasterize layer style. Then we'll take our Twitter logo, actually close out of that and close out of the logo. Control T, let's scale this down until it fits. Just like so. Then right click, blending options, color overlay, and we'll give this straight white. Call this the icon. Right click, rasterize layer style. We'll call this the center and this the stroke. Now I'm going to create a new layer, Control G, call this the circle. Then we're going to come over to our ellipse tool. We'll be using the following color, 3FE1BC. We'll create a circle just like so, right click, blending options. This time we can use a stroke since it's already a circle. Stroke is going to be white at 6 pixels. Click OK. We'll be using the Discord logo for this one. Let's go ahead and just clip that. Actually, we don't need to clip that. We can just do Control T. And let's put that in the center. And I don't think I ever mentioned this. It's kind of awkward. I'm using Alt. I'm holding Alt down and scrolling in with my mouse, with my scroll wheel to actually zoom in and out. Probably would have been something I should have mentioned at the start. Oh well, too late for that now. Now there's a little thing you can do with this circle to make it appear more as if it was actually a sticker. So I'm just going to create a quick backup of this circle. Now we can go into this ellipse, right click, rasterize layer style. Now we can come across with our pen tool. I'm going to click here, I'm going to click about there, come all the way around, right click, make selection, OK. Then we'll do this like there, deselect, take all of that, Control J, then we'll delete it from here. I think this is going to work, so bear with me just a quick second. Now we can take this, we can flip the height, I think, height, and flip the width, just like there. Then we can move it there. And if we go over to the burn tool, I think this will work, maybe. We can darken that so it looks as if the sticker has been folded over. Now we have a folded sticker, so it looks a bit more realistic. We'll call this the icon, and we'll call this the sticker. We can take this, Control T, to rotate that, and let's put it right there. Actually not that bad, and if we actually add a drop shadow to that as well, let me try that out. Opacity down, and then there. That looks even more realistic because that little drop shadow coming down from it as well. So I will leave that as is, and this is the template, the one that you saw me use at the start, so I'll just drag that into the template so you have access to that as well. Next shape we're going to do is, actually let me just group all of this up. Circle. Yep, so next shape we're going to be doing is a little diamond. Let's create the diamond down here. The color we'll be using is the following: F07D68. We'll go over to our rectangle tool. Let's drop that down like so. Control T and make that actually a diamond. It is a bit large. Let's reduce the size a tad. Same thing, blending options, go into stroke, 6 pixels. And I suppose you could do that same little curve at the ends here if you wanted to, maybe curve the bottom or the edges. I won't bother with that. I'll let you play around with it if you want. Drag in our icon, right click, blending options, go to color overlay, whites, right click on the icon, rasterize layer style, Control T, drag that down. I am running out of breath. I'm talking so fast. Alright, let's center that. Oh, we're already at 25 minutes. This is going to be so much fun to edit. Maybe not 25 minutes for you. We'll see how much I cut out in the actual editing process. Alright, so that's there. We can go ahead and Control T that, rotate it, and stick it there. Now this red one, we can do Control J, Control T, transform it down, put it over here. We can change the text to be some weeaboo stuff, and we'll go to our purple over here. Then we'll go over to our color replacement tool, go over to the base. We actually did not merge this yet, so I'm just going to merge the group, and then go over all of that, and it is now purple. A quick way to swap the color. So I did a quick update, and before you go into the comments and start yelling and screaming at me, I just thought it looked better with these background images. I still would prefer that you go to that other tutorial and see how I did it there. Otherwise, the tutorial is going to be stretching well past 30 minutes. We're already kind of pushing 30 minutes. So I'll still link to that below, but this is as well going to be in a tutorial if you want to use it and to see how I actually applied the effects to each of these. Let me collapse all of this then. Now we're going to go back over here, create a new layer, Control G, circles, no sticker, not sticker. Close that. Then we'll go over to our ellipse tool. We want our stroke to be the following color: 88A5F5. Click OK. I think 6 pixels for this works pretty well. Let's see. Yep, I'm happy with that. I actually make it a bit larger. Then do Control J, Control T. Let's bring that down. Make sure it is centered, and I cannot tell at all if it's centered when it's hiding halfway behind that. Yep, and Control J, Control T, and we'll add one more right to the center there. No, it is not perfect, but it works. So we'll call this the first one, call that 1, and it can go right around here. And actually, I want it below everything else. So 1 there, and then Control J, we'll put 1 right there, and that will be 2. Nope, do not drop the opacity. And then for our final step, we'll create a new layer. Control G once again, we'll call this the Not Sticker Circles Part 68. And then we'll go over to our ellipse tool, go to fill, no stroke, hold shift while you make this. Let's drop it right there, then Control J, then Control T. Let's enlarge the size of that. Drop the opacity, and then adjust that to about there. Now we can call this the low opacity, and this is circle. We can collapse that, and that is it for this tutorial. Now, of course, you can add more sticker types, move them around so you don't have empty spots, or just really go wild with how you lay these out. To actually save this project, you can either do File, Export, Save for Web, and this will help compress it down and make it small enough to quickly upload anywhere. It doesn't really cut quality at all. I haven't noticed any quality cuts really doing a export save for web. Or you can save at full size by going to File, Save As, and then choosing PNG. Thank you so much for watching the tutorial. I'm going to have another video popping up on screen shortly. And of course, I'm going to have the video link below for as to how you can go about adding these images into the backgrounds. Hope you all have an awesome day.